Denise Kowalczyk pointed at the fence line for the third time that week, a landscaping crew and a folder of falsified violation notices trailing behind her, certain that no quiet neighbor could ever slow her down. Marcus Boyd said nothing that morning. He simply watched and he recorded every footstep, every torn-up marker, every hour she had no right to be there. 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived at Denise's mailbox demanding $101,000. She laughed at it right up until the sheriff's cruiser pulled into her driveway. Marcus Boyd owned 11 acres bordering the back edge of Ashford Glen, a gated community outside Asheville, North Carolina. His land held a shallow creek, a gravel access road his father had cut in the 1980s, and a small stone cottage that had been in the family for 2 generations. Ashford Glen had been built years after. The Boyd family already held the deed. The boundary between the 2 properties had always been marked with fence posts, survey pins, and a weathered private property, no trespassing. Sign nailed to an oak tree. Marcus worked as a civil engineer for the county. He'd never joined the HOA. Never signed a share access agreement. Never given anyone permission to set foot past that fence line. Neighbors described him as polite but private. The guy who waved from his porch but skipped the clubhouse mixers. And thanks to his job, Marcus knew something most homeowners never think about: how easily a property line gets misplaced on paper if someone wants it misplaced badly enough. That knowledge was about to matter more than he could have guessed. Denise Kowalczyk had just won her 3rd term as HOA president. She had a plan, a walking path she called the Ashford Ridge Trail, 1.5 miles of scenic gravel winding along the creek, the exact stretch of creek that sat entirely on Marcus's land. She never asked. She sent a letter instead, announcing the HOA was activating a historic right of access along the old gravel road. Marcus pulled the deed, no easement, not in the plat, not in any amendment, not in a single county record going back to 1961. He wrote back, calmly, the land was private, always had been, and any entry would be treated as trespassing. Denise showed up at his gate 2 days later with a board member and a clipboard. Residents have been using that road for years, she said. You don't get a say in that. Marcus asked her to produce one document, just one. She had nothing. 6 days later, Marcus woke to a chainsaw before sunrise. He drove down to the creek and found a 4-man landscaping crew already at work, cutting brush, driving stakes, spray, painting trees for removal. Denise stood in the middle of it, holding rolled-up blueprints like the forest already belonged to her. The foreman, a contractor named Ray Delgado, showed Marcus a signed HOA work order. When Marcus asked for a permit covering land outside the development, Ray had nothing. Marcus photographed everything: license plates, stakes, marked trees, and called the sheriff. Since no serious damage had happened yet, the dispatcher told him to order the crew off and keep documenting. He read a formal trespass warning out loud, on camera. Denise tore it up and threw it on the ground. This project is already approved, she said. The whole board signed off. But nobody on that board had actually seen a budget or a boundary map. 2 days later, an official HOA notice showed up, fining Marcus $2,400 for landscaping violations on land the HOA had no authority over. He called the HOA office. The bookkeeper, a woman named Patricia Nunes, admitted she couldn't find his name in any membership file because he'd never joined. Denise grabbed the phone and claimed his property fell inside the HOA's scenic corridor zone, a term with no legal meaning invented on the spot. Marcus hired Tessa Vance, a boundary dispute attorney with a reputation for never losing a paper fight. Tessa confirmed what Marcus already knew. The HOA had zero legal standing. He also brought in a licensed surveyor, Owen Marsh, to run a fresh certified boundary survey, the kind that holds up in court. Denise found out. She showed up a second time with the vice president and someone filming for the HOA's records, calling the survey itself an act of intimidation. She stepped over the fence, grabbed a survey flag, and threw it in the creek. Marcus recorded all of it. Without saying a word, Denise twisted Tessa's final written warning at the next HOA meeting, telling residents Marcus was trying to seal off the neighborhood's emergency exit road. During wildfire season, frightened homeowners voted to give her extra funding to protect their access rights. She used that money to send the crew back, this time before dawn. Hidden cameras caught Denise personally cutting the lock on Marcus's side gate at 5:40 a.m., waving in an excavator like she owned the place. Over the next 2 days, the crew graded 500 feet of forest road, cut drainage trenches, felled 12 mature trees, and rerouted part of the creek. Denise put up a sign, Ashford Ridge Trail, residents only. Marcus didn't confront anyone. He let his cameras, his drone, and his time-stamped photo log build an airtight case. When it was ready, he arrived with Tessa and Owen. Tessa laid the certified survey across the hood of a truck. Owen replanted the stakes and read the numbers out loud. The work site sat between 30 and 65 feet inside Marcus's land. Ray shut the crew down on the spot, realizing he could now be personally liable. Denise climbed onto the excavator herself and shifted the bucket, just to prove she was still in control. While her own contractor stepped back and shook his head, the sheriff arrived. Denise claimed Marcus was holding the HOA's equipment hostage. She agreed to release it anyway, under supervision, promising she'd be back with a court order. That night, she emailed every resident announcing the trail would open Saturday. She told them Marcus had quietly agreed to allow access, a complete fabrication. Saturday morning, 30 adults showed up at Marcus's gate holding coffee and cameras, expecting a ribbon cutting. Denise wore a jacket with the HOA logo and led them straight through the gate she'd left unlocked overnight. Marcus met them calmly at the boundary line and told them the truth. Most residents turned around the second they saw the certified survey. Several apologized on their way out. Denise screamed that Marcus was forging documents. The sheriff arrived and cleared the crowd. Marcus didn't press charges against the misled neighbors, only against Denise as the organizer. Then the real number came in. Tessa combined the tree loss, the road restoration, the creek repair, the survey costs, the broken gate, the legal fees, and the penalty for continued trespass after formal warning. It totaled $101,000. Weeks later, the HOA treasurer discovered something worse. Denise had quietly pulled $38,000 from the reserve fund and altered the original meeting minutes, turning a $6,000 feasibility study into what looked like full project approval. Signatures copied from an unrelated document and pasted onto the fake page. At the next HOA meeting, Tessa handed Denise the $101,000 invoice in front of the entire room. The footage played on the projector, Denise unlocking the gate, directing the crew, leading the Saturday crowd through. The room went silent. The HOA's insurance company later confirmed it wouldn't cover damages caused after Denise had been personally warned in writing, meaning the debt was hers, not the community's. She was arrested days later for trespassing after formal warning and tampering with a licensed survey marker. Caught on camera trying to dig up one of Owen's stakes alone before dawn. The board suspended her immediately, 96 hours after 11 years of unchallenged control. It was over. Denise eventually sold her house to cover the settlement. Marcus never got rich off it. Every dollar went to restoring the land, new trees, a repaired creek bed, a rebuilt fence along the certified line. Months later, wildflowers grew over the old construction scars. Hikers who wandered near the new fence read the sign, nodded, and turned back without a word. Denise believed her position gave her the right to walk through any boundary she wanted. It didn't. $101,000 taught her what her title never could. If you liked this one, you'll want to watch the story we posted last week. The tenant who got his landlord's rental license revoked with a single overlooked clause. Subscribe if you want more stories like this every week. Real disputes, real paperwork, real consequences.